This is KGW News at 11.
And we begin at 11 with breaking news in a deadly plane crash in Polk County. 3 people died when the small plane crashed into a field in the town of Independence. The crash also knocked out power and started a small brush fire as well. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Gordon. Let's get right to Devin Haskins, who's live near that crash scene for more information. Devin, what are you hearing down there?
Yeah, right now. So this plane crash happened around 5 o'clock tonight. Now you can see behind me that power crews are trying to restore that power that went out just around 5 o'clock when that plane crash happened. Just beyond, on the other side of this road, is a grass field where that plane went down. Just beyond that grass field is a small airport. We don't know, though, if that plane had just taken off from that airfield or was coming in to land. But talking with multiple neighbors, they all tell me that they were inside their homes when they heard a big crash, saw a flash of light, then their power went out. Then they ran outside to see what had happened. Independence police say that when the plane crashed, it caused multiple power lines to come down. There was also a small brush fire from it. And because of the high energy power lines that were down, crews had to wait until the power company could turn off the lines to get closer. Investigators now trying to figure out what caused the plane to go down and who those on board are. Pacific Power says at least 400 people are without power tonight. They say they should have that power turned back on by about 4 o'clock in the morning. This road, Hoffman Road, will be closed down throughout the night. And tomorrow morning, FAA will come back out here during daylight to continue their investigation. For now, we're live in Independence. Tim, back to you.
A tragic situation, Devin. Thanks for your report. And we'll continue to cover this breaking news as we learn more about the crash and what happened. Look for the latest on air on KGW.com and also on KGW+. Developing tonight, dozens of tenants at an Old Town apartment complex feel stranded after the apartment's only elevator broke a week and a half ago. Thomas Schultz has the story.
Residents say the 4-story assisted living apartment houses 50 tenants. And with the building's elevator broken, they've struggled to run errands or see family and friends.
Torture. Just torturous.
For more than a week, Babs Jacobson and some of her neighbors confined to wheelchairs have rarely been able to get outside. Recently, they taped signs to their windows signaling for help.
Feels like I'm in jail, trapped.
Jacobson has an aortic aneurysm. If it ruptured, she could have internal bleeding. And without a working elevator, there's only one evacuation lift to get to her 3rd-floor apartment. One chair for around 50 tenants.
The most of us are in walkers, wheelchairs, and electric chairs.
And this isn't the first time the sole elevator has broken. Jacobson says it's been out of commission 4 times in her year and a half here.
I feel like we're being abused.
She and others are worried something bad could happen.
That won't, if we had a fire, I don't think we could get everybody out.
And it's just hard. There's quite a few people who have a hard time getting up and down.
Diane White has lived at these apartments for 6 years. She has congestive heart failure. A broken elevator has made it difficult for her to exercise and see family.
Kind of sucks.
And while tenants wait for the elevator to be fixed, Jacobson is looking to move out of Old Town to somewhere without persistent issues.
It's very dangerous not to have a working elevator with handicapped people.
Now, the apartment complex says they understand why tenants are frustrated, though they're doing everything they can to make repairs as quickly as possible. They purchased new parts and applied for grants for a 2nd elevator, and they expect the elevator to be fixed by Monday. Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
In Washington, 2 teens associated with the so-called Kia Boys social media challenge have been arrested. They're accused of stealing a Kia and using that car to rob 5 stores across the Seattle area in just one night. 18-year-olds Ardell Davis and Ralphie Manuma now face several charges. And the King County prosecuting attorney says this is part of a larger problem. An investigation last month by our sister station in Seattle, King 5, found a drastic increase in stolen Kias and Hyundais.
Even if they keep happening, we'll keep going to court. Prosecutors are seeing more and more Kias and Hyundais stolen, and we're responding in this exact same way.
Meantime, the city of Seattle is suing Kia and Hyundai for failing to install anti-theft devices. A spokesperson for Kia says all vehicles, including the ones involved in these issues, meet or exceed federal standards and mandates. Well, a University of Oregon researcher took part in a recent review of research on public policy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It focused on issues like social distancing, vaccinations, and misinformation. In April 2020, a group of researchers published a highly influential paper with 19 recommendations surrounding COVID-19. It was cited thousands of times by governments, researchers, and public figures. The new paper, released this month, evaluated the original research to see if it was accurate and found 16 relevant behavioral concepts.
What we did is we looked at what everybody around the world had studied and had published. And so there were lots of papers on vaccines, on hand washing, on social distancing, on like that whole variety of pandemic related behaviors that you've heard about. They showed up in the papers. We reviewed all of those papers during that time period to see how accurate we had been in our predictions about what behavioral science would work in getting people to take on those behaviors.
Well, this will now help researchers and policymakers respond to future pandemics and disasters. All right, we're going to turn to our weather now and a live look downtown Portland tonight. Looking great out there. We enjoyed a bright, beautiful day around here and some amazing sunsets too. Ashley Grams is here, and Ashley, sounds like we've got a little more sun on the way this weekend.
Yeah, it's quite a quiet night out here in Portland right now, and not too cold. We're just above freezing, 34 degrees right now, and not too many clouds to speak of. Let's talk through your day tomorrow, though, because we are going to see a change later on tomorrow morning, waking up with just a few clouds, some fog that we'll talk about, especially in the central and southern parts of the valley. Once we get to about noon, we're going to see 50 degrees, and then later on 52. But you can see as we get to those evening hours, that's when the rain starts, and that's going to pick up in those late night hours into Monday. We'll talk more about that in a minute as we see this dry spell come to an end. We also could see some possible high mountain snow, very, very high up there, about 7,000 feet. But we'll talk more about that and your 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, Ashley, thanks a lot. Well, let's take a look at some of your national and international headlines now. In the conflict between Israel and Hamas, anger is growing at the Israeli military after it admitted its operations mistakenly killed 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza. Today, protesters took to the streets of Tel Aviv. They're urging the Israeli government to present a proposal to Hamas to free the dozens of people still being held hostage. And East Coast residents are bracing for a weekend storm that's expected to create tropical storm-like conditions. It's developing in the Gulf of Mexico and promises to bring wind, heavy rain, and localized flooding. In Florida, the State Guard has been activated in anticipation of that storm. Residents spent today filling up sandbags to get ready. 2 to 5 inches of rain could fall.